So I went to Culver's with my family last week, and it honestly was pretty good. But is Culver's a good franchise investment, and how much do they make? This actually might be one of the best franchise opportunities in the country, and also one of the hardest to actually pull off.
Need help finding or researching your franchise and avoiding costly mistakes? Call Franchise Inspectors Broker Group.
Culver's has over 1,000 locations, basically no closures, and some really strong sales numbers. We'll look at those in just a moment. So naturally, people start looking into it. But once you actually look at how this franchise works, it's very different than what most people expect. Now, the average Culver's is doing about $4.1 million a year. Median is right around $4 million. And there are a lot of locations doing $5 million plus, some even over $9 million. That's not normal for fast food. But what stood out to me wasn't just the averages. It's how they break everything down. They don't just give you one number and call it a day. They show sales by state, they show sales by population around the store, by income levels, by how many employees are in the area, even by how many restaurants are nearby. They really slice this every way possible. And what you see is that most locations are clustering in that $3 to $5 million range, with a lot sitting right in the middle. So it's not just one or two outliers pulling the average up. It's a pretty consistent system. This next part is really interesting. You'd think that being right off of a highway would make a huge difference, but it really doesn't. It's basically 4.15 million versus 4.14 million, depending on the proximity to an interstate. Same thing with population. Yes, bigger markets help, but even smaller markets are still putting up solid numbers. So this isn't one of those concepts where everything depends on finding the perfect unicorn location. The model itself seems to carry a lot of the weight. The territory is also better than most food concepts, typically around a 3-mile radius, which is more protection than you'll see with a lot of QSR brands. Some give less than a mile protection, while others grant no protection rights at all. Fees are pretty reasonable too, about 4% royalty and 2.5% advertising, which for food is actually on the lower side. Both McDonald's and Burger King, for example, are around 9% when you add the royalty and advertising together. And then you look at the system overall. There's almost no turnover, no real terminations, hardly any closures, just steady growth. In food, that's rare, like really rare. Now here's where this flips, because everything I've just said sounds pretty great until you look at what it actually takes to do one. First, the cost. You're looking at roughly $3.4 million on the low end to over $10 million. And they want you to have about 20% of that investment liquid. That alone eliminates most buyers. But even if you can't afford it, there's another layer people miss. These are big, full-service restaurants. You're not running a simple operation. You've got high staffing. Have you ever sat and counted how many employees are in Culver's? The last time my family went in, we counted over 13 workers. There's also food costs, full kitchen, a large building. This is a real restaurant business, not something you casually step into. Also, Culver's is not cheap. It's more of a premium burger. I actually pulled this myself. If you order a similar meal across brands, a double cheeseburger, medium fry, and drink, at Burger King, it'll be $8.19, McDonald's will be $9.99, and Culver's is $11.79. That's about 18% higher than McDonald's and almost 44% higher than Burger King. That's a big difference. Because when people start watching their spending, they don't stop eating out completely, they just trade down. And Culver's is one of those places that can feel that. You won't see that risk in the average sales numbers, but it's there. So when people ask if Culver's is a good franchise, the answer is kind of both. It's a very strong system, but it's not an easy one. It's expensive, it's operationally demanding, and it depends on customers continuing to choose a higher priced option. If you're trying to evaluate a franchise or just don't know where to start, please reach out to us at Franchise Inspectors. We'll start with a quick 15-minute call to see if it makes sense to work together, and then we'll go from there. You can go to franinspect.com and fill out our form.